Killer Rides in Wollongong. So I'm sitting here with Paul Beck. How are you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm going great, mate.
Mate, 30 years.
I know, where does that time gone?
Mate,
it's unbelievable.
Incredible. And I know I was here in 96 with the Pioneer Coupe.
Yeah.
And then I think the Mustang.
It's a lifetime ago.
And of course, being 30 years, tell us a little bit about the thing, because obviously the first car inside the doors must have been about 96, 98?
Yeah, 97.
97?
Yeah. The whole idea this year, being our 30th anniversary of the first show in 94, was to bring back some cars from the early shows. So, again, the Lukovic Studebaker was 97. We actually have two cars from the 94 show, our very first show, which was Steve Hodges' Ute and Steve Buber's XC Falcon. And we just wanted to bring back some cars that haven't been seen for quite some time.
Yeah, well, there was a few there I haven't seen for some time. And I see Drago just left a shot there, so you had Drago come down and do the judging?
Yeah, he judges the show now. Every show that we do now, he's part of that, so we leave that in his hands to do that.
For people that don't know, that's he's the head honcho at the Summernats and MotorX for the judging as well, so
That's
they
right.
should know what they're doing.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
He's had plenty of practice now.
So we breezed over that first one, but super well built car, and they're what, in orange, those guys?
They're in
aren't they?
orange, yeah. It's all built in-house.
So cars from all over the place. So this one's out of Melbourne.
This one's Sydney car.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
There you go.
The
My
twins
apologies.
are based in Sydney. Yeah, they built this one. They built a HQ Monaro at the same time in a 6x6 shed at home.
Wow.
So they were going in between the two. One of the brothers is a panel beater, one's a painter.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to interview the boys down at MotorX, and there's a lot of things on this car that are unique. I love the gold leaf in the striping.
Yeah, and that comes from Eddie actually has an Impala lowrider, and so that gold leaf is all part of that lowrider culture. So he's brought that into this Falcon, which works really well with that colour too. I
think, yeah, and you can sort of half see it there, but when in real life it just turns with the light.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks really good, but this car sits nice as well.
Yeah, and the boys were telling me this is the last show for the car. They are going to start driving it.
Well, they were telling me they want it at the track as well.
Yeah, well, they've got new wheels coming for it. They've got some bead locks and things for it now, so they're going to put all that horsepower to the ground.
Awesome. So Steve's Ute.
Yeah. Well, that was here in, like I said, 94. Steve did sell the car. It went to Perth. The new owner drag raced it constantly. And then, Steve got it back, and it still presents really well for a car that's been put down the quarter mile lots.
And it doesn't look to me to be a lot different to what it was.
No.
There's not a lot of changes.
Different bonnet. Didn't have a reverse cowl on it back in the day. But apart from that, the Commodore dash is still there. The silver bars. It's still essentially the same car.
Now this hot rod, Paul, this just grabs my eye. It sits right. It just got I love that wheel combo. I've said that many times. But tell us a bit about this one.
Well, this is a guy by the name of Max owns this one, or as Kathy called him at the show, the hot rod guy.
The hot rod guy.
It's very red, like red on red. It works, and it's timeless. This thing in 20 years will still look good.
Yeah.
The like you said, the stance is right, the colour combo, the wheels, everything about it. It's old school small block with a blower.
And enough bling, I can see the camera struggling with the focus a bit.
But it's a great car.
It was a standout to me when you're going over to get a drink or something at the kiosk. It was like in your face, and it just, every angle it looks right.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with bright red on a hot rod. It just looks great.
You know I'm a bit of a red man, and so are you, Paul. That's your car there.
Well, I never was into red until this come along, and now it's got me. Yeah, this is...
So give us a quick rundown on this one.
Yeah, it's a 62, what they call a bubble top, purely because of the roof line. 409, it's a pretty rare car. There's only 3 of these in the country.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, look, it fell into my lap. I wasn't looking for anything, but...
What do you do?
Yeah, well, that's right. We'd wanted one 25 years ago and couldn't get one. And then when it presented itself, well, just had to happen.
A few bikes, mate?
Yeah. And this young guy, Tyler, he actually rang me on Friday during setup and said he'd just finished a bike. Could we get it in? So, as it was, we had the bike pull out on Friday. So it slotted in beautiful.
It was meant to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is Mick Simpson's V-Rod, turbocharged. big
So
handful.
I never know what's stock on these and what's not. Obviously, the turbo hanging off it, but the paintwork actually caught my eye. I like the use of the satin and the red.
Yeah, that's all custom.
Yep.
Yeah, the fat tyre conversion on the back. I mean, they have a big tyre anyway, but they're gone to extremes.
So, mate, virtually what I'd call a local car, so Shoalhaven.
Yeah, Bombardieri, Viking hot rods.
Now, this is the one you had the chassis at a couple of years ago?
That's right, last year.
It was last year, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they've done pretty well to get it all together, and I have had the fortune to see it a couple of times and film it a couple of times. But every time you look at it, there's just more and more details on this thing.
It's a stunning truck. There's no two ways about it. It's every part of this thing is great. Yeah, the Coyote engine, you just can't go wrong with that sort of combo.
I like their use of the matte, but not overdoing it. Like the column's done, but the rest is polished. And I think the matte thing can get overdone, but they've done it really well on this one.
Yeah, by combining the engine with the wheels, the column, the steering wheel. Like you said, it's not overdone, but it's enough to break the colour up.
And it looks very usable.
Yeah, and these days that's what people are building. They're building cars that you can get out and eventually drive.
Well, if you're going to spend that sort of money, I think it needs to be more than a bit of shed art.
Yeah.
So I had a quick chat to him. They've got about 20 cars in the shop at the moment, and he's got like 12 people working there, so they've got plenty going on.
Yeah.
And I said, so you mainly pickups? He said, well, we're actually hot rodders, and the pickup thing just seemed to come along, and they're almost all back to hot rods again.
The whole pickup deal, the whole truck thing is huge at the moment.
It is.
Like everybody wants a pickup for some reason.
Pickup or a panel van?
Yeah, or a panel van, yeah. Yeah. This is Laurie Grimer's new build.
Yeah, so he stayed to form, so he's obviously the 55, 6, 7 man, isn't he?
Yeah, and we had his other red car here back when it was orange, back when it was first built before they had the accident. And then this car's just a new build that was unveiled at Sydney Hot Rod Show.
And I mean, it fits very much to his styling, and I guess detail's a funny word because I never quite understand. Everyone says to me, oh, you attention to detail, but this guy, his cleanliness and his fit and finish is sensational.
Yeah, and again, it's as highly detailed as the car is, it's a driver.
He still uses it.
It'll be a driver, yeah. And
I heard Drago trying to talk him into taking it to Summernats. He's going, no, I didn't build it to show it. You know, it'll do a couple of shows and then we'll get it on the ground and get it out there and do some miles.
Yeah, and Laurie's old school, where you build something to use it.
Yeah.
And this is another one of the Grimer clan.
All right.
Rod's car. And this car's been around for a long time, and it's just recently had a makeover with the colour on the roof and the reverse cowl and the new wheel combo. I just love the style of this car.
Yeah, even when it was driving out, Louise's partner Michael was like, oh, I actually like that. That's something about that car. You know?
It just sits right.
Yep.
You know, before you put the reverse cowl on, just the car, the air cleaner's just hung out of the bonnet to let you know there's something special there. It's just a cool car that I think it appeals to the majority of people. Whether you're into early Holdens or not, this car is just cool.
I like the little chrome strip or the aluminium strip on the tank there. Because I'm always looking for things, what's a little bit different about each car, and I thought that was clever. And this was cool, sort of old school, but it's still got the tack, and the gauges and all, but mounted in a way that might have been done, in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. This is a relatively new car as well. 57 Sports Coupe. 57s are a crowd favourite, no matter how they're modified. And this thing's very subtle, but very tasteful. And it's again, it's one of those cars that in 10 years' time is still going to be cool.
So tell me, Paul, is that a manual or is that one of those trick shifters that looks like a manual?
That's an auto. That's one of those low car shifters. Yeah.
When I built the Mustang, it was manual, and when I sold it, the guy wanted an auto. So when I changed it over, I put one of them in it, so it looked like a manual still.
Oh, okay.
That's a good look. I like that sort of, the red engine sitting in the black bay.
Yeah, and that sort of gives it that original sort of look, because that's how they were back then. Everything was painted
like
orange.
What Ronnie Barclay's done with his.
Exactly.
Everything's sort of stock, but not stock. It's all
exactly. Very subtle.
Yeah, high gloss and everything highlighted and nice
beautiful
builds. Car. So this sounded pretty tough, mate, when they rolled that out.
This car's got a lot of history to it. It's the old Chev off-road marine engine race car that Dave Andrews had chased for a long time, found it languishing in a shed somewhere, did a deal with the guy, bought it home, and now he's racing the wheels off it every chance he gets.
So it's back to a Holden, I believe?
Yes, it did have a big block Chev in it at one stage, but it does now have a Holden-based engine. Not your average Holden.
I'm going to say it doesn't sound like your average Holden, that's for sure.
Yeah, but a really cool car, and Dave loves his Tranas. He's also has a HB and a LX as well.
So tell us a bit about these, mate, because these were at the Hot Rod Show as well.
Yeah. Both of these cars are owned by Chris Palazzo, a good friend of ours. He has quite a few nice cars, and these are the two latest ones. Actually, before the Hot Rod Show, the last time I saw that Cuda was bright green.
Oh, right. So that was the question I was going to have, actually. Were they sort of imported like they are, or was it something?
Chris has owned these cars for a little while.
Yep.
And he has a thing for black. Everything he's got's black.
Black? Yeah, because he's got that magnificent hot rod.
Yeah. Well, he's got a couple of nice hot rods that are black. But these two Mopars are just brilliant. Like this Cuda's got a 528 cube Hemi. The Charger doesn't have a Hemi yet, but Chris does have plans to put a Hemi in it.
Yeah. And this one almost looks like it's a late model, and then you go, no, it's a 60-something. But it looks, with the striping and the wheels and all, it tends to look a bit like it might have been a 2000-something.
Yeah. I think it's a 70 model. It's just a cool car.
They're a massive engine, aren't they?
They only just fit. But it's the old things. That thing got a Hemi. Or with Chris, most of the time they do. But they are just two great looking cars. That Charger does it for me. Like, I'd have one tomorrow if I could afford it. And here's the other car that was back in 94.
Yeah, so we obviously you can see our stand behind you there, so we got to have a fair chat to this guy. So it was his dad that had it there.
That's right. Well, no,
30 years ago.
Steve had it back. Yeah, him and his brother bought it. His dad had passed away, and his brother and Steve both got stuck into doing the car. It was much different back then. There was no blown engine. The graphics weren't there. I think, off memory, he might have been on his L's when he bought the car to the show. Yep. In '94, and he's just evolved the car from there. I don't think you'll ever see this car for sale. It'll stay in the family forever. Yeah. But to get it back, 30 years later with the same owner, is still pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, and it was interesting. He had the photo with him sitting in the car with the trophy they won as like a 4 or 5 year old.
Oh, that was actually his niece, or I think it was his niece.
So it's like the same family photo of the next generation, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. So cool to see.
So a couple of burnout cars, mate?
Yeah, well, everyone loves burnout cars. Like, the burnout scene is massive.
Well, most people, Paul.
Most people.
It's where it's all at, isn't it?
It is, and it's a massive thing. So when we had the opportunity to get a couple of burnout cars in, I thought this could be a bit of a theme too. So we end up with 5 or 6 really cool wild burnout cars, because they are wild.
They are. Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Where else would you see a Subaru with a tunnel ram LS in it and tubs and stuff?
And of course, that's Owen's lad, and he's only 16 or...
Yep.
Showing his dad up, I think. Dad's car seems to be stuck in the shed a bit at the moment.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be here, and the engine wasn't ready.
Yep.
So then we got Steve and Lee's Corsa VS Ute, which is a really nice car too.
They finish them off, way better than they used to 20 years ago, don't they, the Burnout boys?
Back in the day, it used to be get a small car, just throw whatever V8 engine you could find into it. Didn't matter how ratty it was, just go out and do skids.
And away you go.
Yeah.
So have you got yourself one of these yet, Paul, or what?
No. These guys are out of control.
It's crazy. I went to a show up in Sydney, like just a cars and coffee type thing or whatever, and there was a guy there with a new old stock in the box.
Oh,
one
wow.
of these. You imagine that?
Yeah, I can imagine what it's worth too. Talking to these guys and how fanatical they are, I had no idea the amount of money that people pay for and matching number pedals and matching number handlebars.
It's got to have the right date code and all that sort of stuff.
And it's so cool to see. And you don't realise how big that whole BMX scene is. And so this always when we first did the BMX display, it happened because we had a car pull out Friday night and someone mentioned maybe we should do this, and within a dozen phone calls we had 20 bikes there, and it went down really well. So now every year we have a BMX
got your
display.
bike section. So mate, another local car, I believe?
Yes, yep. This one was done primarily by Dave Cornford at DRC Group, with the body and paint, and then Simon Kyger got involved and was getting it running and stuff. And
which would mean that Phil Kerjane's probably involved
Yeah,
with all the
I'd
brake
say so.
lines and all that sort of stuff?
yeah, it's just a really nice traditional street machine.
Yeah, nice driver.
Yeah, yep, not over the top, just really
A few
nice
little hot rod touches. I
Yeah.
like the mirror there. And it's got those, I got the camera in the door. Lloyd said to me this morning, Dad, you got to get the camera all the way in if it's going to get focused. So I like the little, used to be able to buy those little boxes to go on the
For the
dash and take
gauges.
the gauges and
Yep.
stuff.
But yeah, a really nice car.
Yeah, I was talking to Dave, they're polishing away.
This is Tim McDonald's XY.
I had a pretty good look at this because I've had a few people, comment to me about the car, and if I looked at it and I go, mate, to be honest, I look at so many cars, and I actually sort of tuned in a bit afterwards. And a couple of things, have a look at the underside of the bonnet there. They've got like a bit of round welded to the cutout and then all moulded. That amount of work in that's
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
And that obviously gives the bonnet some rigidity because they're taking the bracing out.
Yeah, but just to get that to work like that, which means that there's a lot of hammer work going on to get the sheet metal back once you've done that welding. And then the same with all the bay and, all the usual stuff. But it's a very nicely built car.
Yeah. And the blown injected wings are in there, just the jewel in the crown, as they say.
And I look at things like the ends of the doors and the door trims, and that's what I'm sort of looking at now. And they've, fabricated those door handles, and then the console matches, but it still looks like it might have been there,
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? To try and make it look factory.
Yeah, and then this back
it's all
seat's
custom.
been sort of bolstered up. It's still XY, but it's
Yeah.
a bit better.
Fit around the wheel tubs and things.
Yeah.
Just a great car.
Now, I thought this is like a Paul Beck special.
Yeah.
Pro Street.
Everyone knows I'm in the Pro Street, absolutely.
Always has been, always will be.
Always will be, without a doubt. And Jason's Camaro is just one of those cars that, bright green, you can't go past it. You'd have to have really bad eyesight.
And I like those ghost stripes and stuff on it. I'm just trying to pick it up there with the camera. It's got that Camaro stripe over the nose, but only just, and in the in the right light, I'm sure they stand out.
Yeah, and I know, I remember this car back in the day when it was primarily a burnout car, and I don't know what prompted the decision to do a number on it.
Yep.
But I'm glad he did, because it's 10 times the car it used to be. It really is a standout.
Yeah, it's got a look, and like up at the Hot Rod Show, had a massive crowd around it.
Yeah.
And if people are wondering, there were people at the show. It's just Paul lets me in early so I can get you guys to look at the cars without people in my way and make it all about the cars. So Simon Kyger.
He's done it again. I don't know if this guy even sleeps, the amount of cars that he gets involved in and pumps out. And people said to me, what's the go with that 1 tonner when it first come in, like with the patinaed paint and stuff like that? I said, just wait till the bonnet's up, you'll understand what it's all about. Like we say to it's the Aussie version of the farm truck.
Yes.
And it's just cool. Really nice trim. Obviously big engine, nitrous, the whole deal.
632, I think, on the number plate. And I was talking to Phil Kerjan. Obviously, they work closely together on a lot of builds, but I think his big one, the big one, was 800 and something.
Yeah, 864 or something like that.
Yeah, so he's not frightened to get a few cubes into him.
Yeah, so this is little in comparison, but big for everything else. But it's ready now to hit the track.
Yeah, he was saying that I think this week it's off to the dyno, and then they'll be up doing some runs.
Yeah, Matt Marsh at Pro Street Industries had basically did all the fabrication on that car, and it'll be a good thing on the track.
So Phil's, it's probably Nat that does all the cleaning and the detailing on this car.
I reckon so.
And I'm sure young Charlie probably gets roped into that as well, but this car's always immaculate no matter where it goes, and then Phil's not frightened to go out and get into it, and not more often than not, I was going to say, but quite often he'll burn the bumper off it, or
Yeah, I reckon
catch a wall, or a few things.
Yeah, the back of the car's been on fire a few times, I reckon. But I remember this car when it was his street car. It was silver, had a 253 in it. Had aero wheels, not that big, but yeah, it was just a tough street car back then, you know. Certainly come a long way over the years.
So where's this hang out?
This is a Canberra car.
Canberra car?
Yeah, Dave Darcy. Yeah, it's really nicely built, our LS. Beautiful paint, beautiful trim. Yeah, nice wheel combos. It's just one of those cars that, again, is subtle, but when you get up close, you start to see the changes in the detail, and yeah.
I think I've commented a couple of times on this car with the things like the headlights and the taillights and the fit and the chrome, and just, you know, it's sort of picture perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of work in the fit and finish on this thing.
So this one's a previous Summernats Grand Champion, and I'm thinking, what, 12, 15 years ago?
Yeah, I reckon you're right. I don't know exactly, but I reckon you're right. It's Ben Sargent's car.
And part of that to me is the colour and the pearl in the paint and all that tends to pick the ear.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
A little bit, you know?
It's not something that you would see these days. People are tending to go to more subtle colours now instead of outrageous colours.
Well, it's a bit the same. If you're going to spend this amount of time, this amount of money, you want something that's in 10 years is still a cool thing and doesn't sort of fit to an era.
Yeah.
You know, if you're building a fast four on rotary in the 2000s, it's always going to be one of those. But if you're building a car like this one,
yeah,
you know, a similar car but in red with that sort of red finish, they're timeless.
Yeah, this is Pete Kostopoulos' car. He's a local dude as well.
And he gets this out on the odd occasion for cars and coffees. A few people I spoke to at the event were saying that they often see it out.
Yeah. It's been around for a little while. It's done the show scene all over the country.
12 years ago, he said. And I was talking to Simon from Ground Level, who did the paint work on it, because he'd sort of run the buff over it because it was getting pulled back out and going to be on display. So, yeah, 12 years ago that they carted it all around the place.
Yeah, that's... Only seems like yesterday.
You could nearly own that one as well, Paul.
Yeah, I reckon
got that
so.
Pro Street thing happening with the wheels and all.
Absolutely. I'd probably throw a blower on it, but that's just me.
That'd finish it right off.
Yeah, for me it would, yeah, absolutely. But it's stunning.
Beautiful XW.
Yeah, another local car. Like we're such a hotbed of good cars in this area. I'm glad we get to showcase them in this sort of environment for the locals to see.
So I filmed this up at the Hot Rod Show and spoke fairly lengthy about the build, and I'll cover a little bit now, but the fit and finish on this and the detail is incredible. And it's a replica, but done at such a level, you'd never know.
Yeah, so I'm not that far into GTs, but for me, I look at that and go, well, that's probably, if it's a replica, that's as close as you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's too good, like those inner wheel arches and stuff, they'll never like that.
Yeah.
And the panel fit on this car is very, very, very good. And someone spent a lot of time to make it way better than they ever were from the factory. I'll squeeze through there and it's got that classic white trim. No, didn't get that one right, Paul. The Focus is...
yeah, as good as technology is these days.
Yep. I'm just looking, I'm in the process now of whether we're going to upgrade to the next level camera, but as you know, that's a never-ending story, isn't it?
Well, as soon as they release one, 6 months later, there's a new one.
So I had to take a second look on this one, Paul, because I thought it's a Ford, and then I'm going, where's the distributor? But it's obviously running a nice ignition that's got a box inside somewhere.
Yeah, it's so cool to see a 32 Ford with a Ford engine.
With a Ford, and blown with a big hat on it. And
yeah, it's easy to put a small block Chev in because parts they were a lot cheaper back in the day than doing a Ford engine. But
and I had a chat to them when they were packing up. I said, "Can you guys get some lower ropes because I can't film your car very well with the straps in the way."
Makes a difference.
Man, this thing looked tough going out the gate when it left.
It's amazing, isn't it, what a difference it makes to an Escort when you just chop the roof a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, the tubs and the wheelie bars and the wing helps too. There's another local car, believe it or not, Paul Watts. It's a great thing. Like he uses this a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's.
I really like the treatment on the rear wing, which we'll see in a minute. But they all have them big rear wings, but I like the way they've wrapped a lot of the stuff in the carbon fibre.
So much easier than polishing these days.
Polished
aluminium. Yeah.
Look at that wing. I reckon that's cool.
Yeah. It's not over the top, but obviously does a job.
It's there for a purpose, but it looks cool as well. And I'm guessing it's a wrap. That's might be carbon fibre, mate.
I'd say it's a wrap. To do a carbon fibre wing that size, it'd probably cost the same as the car.
Now, I like that stand with the fuel change. That was cool.
Yeah. And Dave Camilleri's breakout Harley.
So what's the terminology with the big front wheel? Does that turn it into some sort of style of bike?
I've no idea.
No idea? Because I know the baggers have the big front wheel and all, but they've got the bags.
I think it's just the current trend.
It's a bagger without the bags.
Yeah, the current trend where they go 23-inch wheel and bigger is better, apparently.
And then this one's just something totally different altogether.
Turbocharged high booster. These things were a weapon in standard form. And then Nelson's gone and added a turbo to it, extended the swing arm, bigger, fatter tyre, all the custom bars and grips.
So lots of cool stuff on it.
Yeah. Last time I saw this bike, it was candy orange.
Oh, right.
And when he showed me a photo of it now white, it was like, he said, I just wanted to change.
Have a change.
Wow, it looked cool back there, but it looks. I don't mind the pearl white. This one's all the way from Dubbo, Nicky Seaton, cool as combi.
So their show's a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks?
Yeah, end of the month out at Dubbo.
So that looks like that's going to be a pretty big event. I'm not going to get there because my sister's having a 70th that weekend.
Oh,
so
wow, okay.
I'll be heading up there.
Yeah.
But, I was talking to Chris, you're coming out, I go, mate, I would, but, tied up.
Kathy and I are heading out there, so it's...
Bit of a country cruise for you, mate.
Yeah, be a nice change.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've only been to Dubbo once, and actually that's where my Chev come from. And we went out there to have a look at it. That was the first time I'd been there, and I haven't been there since. So it'd be nice to go back out there and have a bit of a look around and see what the scene's about.
Well, I met Chris in '96 when we had the Pioneer Coupe at the Autobahn in Dubbo.
Yeah, okay.
That they'd sort of organised, and Chick was there promoting Summernats, and I was there with that promoting that they were a Pioneer outlet as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so all that history, mate, it doesn't go away.
No, that's right. And Chris is still building cars. He's got a few on the go at the moment. So
now, what about this thing, man?
This is wild. This is really cool.
So it's got some really unique things on it. The front end with the...
the way the shocks are.
I can't even think of the right word now, but the way they're set up down flat, and you see a lot of that in the US.
Yeah.
And then when I sort of stuck my head inside, it's full-on race car.
Yeah, like that big Hemi's going to get a workout very soon, I reckon.
I'm not sure where it fits in the race car scene.
But,
I'm sure they'll give it a run.
I reckon they'll find a spot for it, but it's cool. I mean, the patina wrap and the carbon fibre hat and the wheel combo, it's just cool.
Yep.
It's
rocker front end is what I was looking for.
Oh, okay, yep. This thing's going to look good going down the track.
Oh.
Be a handful.
So, Levels. Without Levels, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, and they support this show as well, Paul.
They do, yes. Mike and the team. Mike's been part of the car scene for a long time.
An ex-Wollongong boy as well.
He is, yes. He was in Wollongong Street Machines with us back in the day.
Another burnout car, Paul.
Another burnout car. And what a burnout car. Like a Volkswagen with a blown injected
Like
V8.
you say, grab something small and put a big-ass engine in it.
Yeah. And every time I see this car, I see it regularly at Bathurst Auto Fest, and it's always got flames coming out the back of it. Yep. It's always on fire.
It's always on fire.
Yeah.
he might have a little tap under there to put
maybe.
on the show.
I guess at the end of the day, it's all about being spectacular, and it certainly is.
Mate, I love the paintwork on this thing, and the helmet and all that. And when he rode it out with the sun on it, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, very old school. And actually, Rob Weideman that owns the pink bike beside it as well. So he bought 2 down this year. Very nostalgia. Yeah, you could take that bike back to the 60s and it'd still be cool.
And there's a lot of it being done. I mean, at the Hot Rod Show this year, there was, in the bike area, there was so many of these top-end bikes. It was incredible.
Yeah. It's funny because they used to have a bike show on Good Friday at Bankstown Bike Show, and it was huge.
I remember that, yeah.
They used to have bikes from all over the country there, and then they stopped the show. So that's why guys like us and Andy at the Sydney Hot Rod Show have a bike section, because it gives them somewhere to go.
I love just the chrome and the paintwork and the innovation in all that engraving, and it's just incredible.
Lots and lots of hours in that stuff.
So, mate, I was trying to think how long ago this would have been at this show. It must have been, a fair while.
Yeah, I reckon so. And the car still presents immaculately.
It does, doesn't it?
I hadn't seen it until the All Ford Day.
Oh, you're right.
2 weeks before our show, yeah. I hadn't seen it for a long time. And then, it comes here and the car still looks $1 million. And does get used.
Yeah, and it was a top 10 Summernats car. I don't remember what categories and stuff, but I do recall it being in the top 10.
Yeah, great car. It's again, the colour shows its age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit like if you happen to do your car in Harlequin, then you got 5 years out of it, and then it was like, I need to change it.
Yeah, but that still doesn't look out of style.
No.
I think it still looks relevant today.
Now, I was saying to someone, Paul, at the show, that I first seen this car when I stayed at the Gold Creek Resort. I don't know that you call it a resort, but at the Gold Creek Resort with you, and then this was debuted, and that must be 16 years ago.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. Yep.
And I loved this car from that day.
It is a very good build. And I first met Rob Belcedo when we launched Extreme Magazine in 2003, and we had an engine decanter as a prize, a subscription prize, and Rob actually won that prize.
Yeah, right.
And that's when I met him back in 2003, and this car was in the build back then. And another car gets driven.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's another one that you see turns up, in Wollongong. You go out for one of the, it's either a Saturday night thing at the kebab shop or somewhere, and this thing, it bobs up. I think about all these changes of wheels.
Yeah, just gone bigger.
The car's pretty much the same.
Yep, and still presents beautifully.
Yeah, awesome car. And drove out and drove home.
Yeah,
Imagine.
that's right, yeah.
So where'd you find this one, Paul?
This is a Sydney car, Dave Baldacchino. This has got the engine's by Tristan Trickers. So this car was at a street meet in Sydney on a Wednesday night a couple of weeks ago.
And I didn't even realise it's the same car.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, there you go.
We did a video of the street meet, and this thing, it ran the 9.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
A 9-second car.
Yep.
And then it comes down here, you look at it.
Presents like that.
You wouldn't think it had ever seen a track. And just the standout colour. Under these lights, this colour just glowed.
And it was the same up at the track. So if you're keen with that, it's about 6 weeks ago, I reckon, that I went up with my neighbour and did a bit of footage on the boys from down here with their Commodores and stuff that went up. And this thing was there, and it was a new setup, and they ran a 10, a low 10, and then another 10, and then the last run it ran an 8. A 9.
A 9, yeah.
But it looked cool at night on the track.
Oh, absolutely, under those lights.
That colour is amazing.
Another one from Orange. This car was built by the Zalukovic shop, John Zalukovic.
Right, yeah, and that makes sense now, because I seen it and I went, it's very, very well finished and painted. And
yeah, we actually did a in the build feature on this in Killer Rides magazine back in the day, back a few.
It's interesting, Paul, the use I was saying earlier about the matte and satin finishes, that
Yep.
people may think that people do that because it's easier, but it's actually harder.
Yeah. Yep.
So the actual outside of the tray on this is in satin. So you can see in here they've got the satin on the running gear, and it looks just like it's a piece of art. You know, it's like a drawing. It's
Yeah, it
just
almost
got
looks
that
fake.
look. Yeah,
Yeah.
it almost looks fake. And then on the outside of the tray, they've done the same silver. And that is so hard to get that good. Because
it's very flat.
what happens is with satin is if you paint something like that flat, it'll shadow
Oh, okay. Yep.
and it shows the imperfections. But if it's gloss, the gloss covers up the little imperfections because the reflection's in your face.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's very difficult to do. And then
Yeah.
all these floors and all are moulded, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know how it'll go for longevity, but someone's put a lot of effort in to make all that flow like that.
Yeah, it's a very, very well built car. This is one that Montana really loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted you.
She wants a ute.
Yep.
And she's into the low riders.
Yeah, when she saw this, she went, "Yeah, that's me. I want one of those, Dad."
Yep. Dad.
It's this is Daryl Penton. He's actually an Autobarn store manager in Campbelltown.
Did you notice the wheels?
I did notice
The
there was all the
engraving, I
engraving on
thought-
it.
That's cool because it's in the bikes and it's in the low riders.
Yeah.
The low riders. But I haven't sort of seen it in what I'd class as the street machining side of things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of low rider bits on this, really.
Yeah, a little bit of hot rod styling with the dash, and
Yep.
yeah, this is a really cool little mini truck. Obviously airbagged, but it's just cool, like smoothed off tailgate, Cadillac taillights, blown Lexus engine. It's a cool thing. And then you get Dom Lucci's Monster. And again, another one of those burnout cars. But I love this. I love the fact that it's a 4-door HJ.
Yep.
And it's got the old school Simmons on it, tubbed and stuff. It just very much built like an 80s car with all that engine
But it's
up
all
front.
fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It was one of my favourite cars at the show, to be honest with you.
And a very big engine at that, by the look of it.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to use it. This thing has been in several burnout comps with... Actually, when I spoke to him about bringing it to the show, I was in the paint shop having the rear fixed.
Oh, right.
Because it had burnt the paint off it.
Again. You got to admire the boys for their... I don't know what the word is, Paul, tenacity to stay in the commitment to stay in the game.
Yep. And it's funny how they'll do a burnout comp, they'll burn the paint off it, and then the following week they're at another burnout comp, car looks $1 million.
Yeah.
Must have a very good relationship with their painters. This is another orange car, Mark Weeks. And this is really nice too, like it's as far as retro tech goes, classic Chev, blown LS.
Yeah, black and white trim, the cool steering wheel.
Timeless. You could drive this car to the other side of the world and it'd be comfy and it'd be good on fuel and no headaches. Just jump in it and go. It's funny, you don't really see that many 56 Chevs around because everyone sort of goes 55, 57. And to have two really good examples at our show was pretty cool.
So a couple of minis, and of course the Gong's known for minis and the Gong.
Absolutely. And these are two local guys, a father and a son.
And of course the son I met when I first moved here, which is done near 20 years ago now, with the Wollongong Street Machiners. The young bloke was involved with that.
Yep.
And it was good to catch up with some of those guys.
Yeah, they were good days. These things would be a handful. I mean, they were... Back in the day, they were fast, and it was like a go-kart, you had half an inch off the ground.
Yeah, the old Cooper S.
Yeah. And to see, turbocharged, nitrous, and in such a little package.
Yep.
You probably feel like you're going a lot faster than what you actually are, but...
Well, I don't know. I mean, in the 60s, they were keeping up with the Falcons and the
Yeah.
the Holdens of the day, like at Bathurst and stuff, the Minis were always in the game.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
Crazy. So we have an in-the-build section at the show, so we can showcase to people not just the finished product, but what goes into building those finished products. And these two cars are from Cruise and Performance in Albion Park. The Tirana's with the Toyota engine. You got this one with the rotor.
I know I'll go up the back and have a bit of a look at some of the fab work because there's a lot going on in this one.
Absolutely, and the morning of the show they were still putting the rear end together.
I noticed that they kept the factory rails though.
To keep it a street car, apparently.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, when you keep the factory rails and you're not modifying the rails.
Must be a street car.
Yeah. Then apparently you can get away with a lot more. This is Paul Young's 61 Chev Impala.
I was going to ask you what it was.
Yeah, his dad Jody is well known in the burnout scene at the Summernats. He had a white we still got it, white 67 Impala.
Yes. Yep.
ZZ 1967.
God, for years and years and years he was out
Yes,
there, wasn't he?
absolutely.
Yep.
And so this is Paul's build. He's got a couple of engine combos for this. He's got a turbo LS. And he thought for this show he'll drop the blown big block in it.
Yep.
I think he might be tempted to leave the blown big block in it, to be honest with you.
That's a spoilt for choice that a lot of people would like to have, I think.
Absolutely. Be nice to be able to swap them over. And this is cool. I mean, a Galant with a twin turbo small block, tubbed with 33-inch tyres. Who'd have thought that was even possible? And then it, drives it into the show.
Yeah,
drives it out. It's just cool.
Yep.
And Shane's got quite a few cars. He's been here before with a couple of his cars. So. And Steve Hodges, this is his other car that he bought down. He bought the Blue Ute, but he's also bought his LS-powered Tirana as well.
So is this fairly fresh, Paul?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so. Typical Steve Hodges build. Like everything's taken care of. Like Steve runs race breed engineering, so everything on this car is 100%. Like he goes over the steering, the engine conversion, everything's done right.
Yep.
And again, he drives the wheels off this thing. It's everywhere. He takes it out on the club run to the Tirana Club, and every weekend they're out in it doing something.
Yeah, it had a good feel about it.
Yeah.
And then like even the trim wise, it's sort of stockish, but it's cool. It's different.
Yeah. Updated stock.
That's it.
And bright green. I mean, we see so many Tiranas these days. They're everywhere. Most of them seem to be orange. So, I'm a green guy anyway, but I think that colour for me is the pick for a Tirana.
So we're getting down to the end of it, Paul, but we haven't lost any quality because this new build of Darren's is spectacular, isn't it?
It is, very much so. And he'd actually entered last year's show and had a problem with the car and had to go back into the paint shop again. And so he missed the show, unfortunately, but there was no stopping him this year.
And it took him a while to get the trim and all finished, and I really do like the use of the red on red. A lot of people don't like red on red, but I think they've done it very well.
Yeah, and just the subtle changes, the digital dash, the standard steering wheel on a tilt column, and again, that wheel combo suits the era.
Yep.
And a typical Darren Fosberg engine bay.
Yeah, I mean, he had some cool cars in the 80s, the 80s and 90s, and he judged at Summernats for many years.
That's right, yeah. Everyone would remember, if they saw a photo of his white HG, they'd know what we mean by the engine bay. Cause that thing
I used to call it the bathtub engine bay.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, nothing in there. It was awesome.
Yeah, this is a beautiful car. And people might say, well, why is that car down the back? Well, we have one door in to the building, unfortunately.
Yep.
So the way it is, we have to sort of start in the back corner and work our way forward. So people that get there early, and it's not really a problem because it's not that big of a venue. People will still get everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to end up with a row of junk down the back in here. I think it's cool. Not that there's any junk there, but you know what I mean.
So we need to spread the stuff around. So
mate, this thing, they were giving the internet a good run, so they drove it around Wollongong. before they put it in the show. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I saw some photos of them driving down the Hune, and that's the longest drive it's been on.
Yeah, and they were cruising the beach and all before that on Friday, before
awesome.
they brought it over. It was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And, thankfully it was such a nice day, so I don't blame them either.
No.
If I could, I would have as well.
But I mean, not necessarily a fan of that colour in the Ford range, but we put a post up on it with a few other cars from the show, and everyone loves the colour. So you just
and people don't understand that's actually a factory XA colour.
Yeah.
People just think, oh, it's a custom colour. Why would you paint it pink? Well, that's just the way it is. And
at the end of that, it is a chick's car.
Yeah, Ashley loves it, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day, if the owner likes it, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. But it's a great car, and the white on the Simmons to match the trim, and the stand even to match the interior trim. That's just cool. It's little details like that make a big difference.
And if you like one of those boxes, get on to Hearn Customs, because they make those custom boxes if you want one for your cleaning gear in your boot.
Absolutely.
Now, Paul, I'm not even going to try to explain this one.
I spotted this car. Kathy and I went to a little show out the back of Canberra on a football field at Hall, and we saw this crowd around the car. And when we got there, it was this Morris. And this thing has so many custom additions to the body. I mean, it's patinaed obviously, but it's got a turbocharged Toyota twin cam, and it's all candy apple. You wouldn't expect that with the bonnet down, but all the additions that he's added to the body, like that horn on the top, and he's got a distillery in the back, and these gates on here that I don't know where you'd even find that stuff.
It's like the end off of sewing machine.
Yeah, and then
look like.
The shotgun up there with all the brass bits in it, and the stacked exhaust of the rats on it. They even have little lights in them.
Just goes on and on and on.
It does. Everywhere you look on this car, there's something cool about it. And when I approached Steve about entering the show, he goes, my car's not good enough for that. I said, well, it's not all about elite cars. It's about interesting cars and stuff that people can appreciate. And people love this thing.
And you were saying that all lights up as well.
And all that stuff on that dash, all those little lights in it, like old school. It all almost reminds me of some eccentric chemist working in a basement with all that sort of stuff,
So, Paul, what's the number? How many cars do you squeeze into this little haul?
This year we had 48 cars and 6 bikes.
There you go. So that's the size of it. It's a hockey arena, and somehow or other Paul still convinces them every year to let him back in and park the cars on there. And of course you've got a few traders as well, Paul.
Yep. The most traders we've actually had in the building this year, which has been really good, and a lot of new traders. Look, we could fit more in if I wanted to put cars up against each other, but I like to walk around to every part of every car.
Yeah.
And have every car on show. So we sort of cap it at what we can fit in comfortably. And but then you get a spot where we can fit 2 minis in. So that works.
Yeah.
So it works for us. It's not the biggest show, but it's about putting on a nice show of different stuff every year.
This guy, I said to him, because we were right next to him, I said, man, every year they get more and more.
Absolutely.
Of the signs. It's really cool.
Yep.
So we went there just to try and give the channel a bit of a plug, and some of the merch and a few posters and stuff we had from Summernats. Oh, there I am sitting there, talking again.
Yeah. The award-winning Astle.
I thank you very much for that, Paul. Yeah.
It was being interactive, having the YouTube channel playing and stuff like that. It just went to that much the next level.
So a few of the local people as well, and of course Phil we spoke about with his wagon. Got plenty of stuff there as well.
Absolutely.
Shirts for that, and I think one of Kyger's cars.
Yeah, I think Craig Lewis had his Cortina shirts there as well. So Phil's a good supporter, and there's Wayne. We jokingly call it Wayne and Pete Global Enterprises. They do a lot of swap meet stuff, and they sell magazines like it's going out of style. So
yeah,
we just have a bit of fun with them, and they help us out. They're part of the Extreme.
There's your better half and your daughter there somewhere as well.
No, that's Steph and Jess.
And the raffles.
Yeah, let's spin the wheel.
Well, Paul, great show, great weekend.
It was a very good weekend.
Thanks for coming in.
No, more than happy.
You'll have another one coming up soon, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We've got to secure the date for next show, secure the date for the Killer Rides Cruise Without Cars again, and we've got some other stuff that we'll make an announcement on the next few weeks, I guess.
No worries. All right, mate. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye for now.